thank you for the Talanoa mapping that I want to ask to you, of course. Thank you. And I will welcome and saluto Francesco Postiglione per essere qui. Grazie per aver aspettato, ti chiedo scusa. Ecco, now the session will be in Italian translated. Today there will be some of them. Francesco, quando vuoi partire ti lascio subito la parola, così ti presenti e partiamo. Intanto faccio partire l'interprete.
Sì, io Domenico vorrei provare a parlare in inglese.
Ah, ok. Go
Poi se
ahead.
c'è un interprete che mi corregge o traduce, non sarò assolutamente offeso di questo, perché conosco l'inglese ma non è molto praticato da tempo, quindi, però vorrei provarci anche con
Ok,
l'aiuto
go
delle
ahead.
slide, ok?
Go ahead.
Ok,
Don't worry.
so,
Guarda, se
hi.
solo ha capito me direi che puoi andare tranquillo, non ti conosco, ma
Ok,
peggio del mio
ok.
inglese non può andare, quindi...
Okay. So, since now I will speak in English, okay? Hi to everyone. I'm Francesco Postiglione. I was invited by Domenico to have this brief speech, and we will have a kind of discussion, I hope. My theme, I will explain with slides, but very, very shortly in time, okay? So I go ahead to show you some slides. My theme is education to democracy and ecology. How? I will not present myself. We will not spend time in this. You can see the link if you want to go. If you want to know who I am and why I'm here and talking about democracy. Okay. I only say that I was a philosophy teacher in schools and I study right philosophy and political philosophy. Now I'm a headmaster in a school, but I will not abandon philosophy and political philosophy. So we will try to answer these two questions. There are questions, these are the questions of the meeting, okay? How to stimulate governments, administrations, and citizens on themes like climate changing and social equity, and what instruments, most of all, can be used to take shared decisions on common problems. Let's start with a statement of Hans Kelsen, one of the most important right philosophers of the 20th century. About education to democracy, okay? You can read the statement, but the problem is that nowadays, but not only today, since 18, I can say, since 80s, sorry, since 80s, democracy is not going as Kelsen are saying in this statement. Kelsen, let's try to summarize, say that democracy is transparency. We just heard about transparency before me, and competence, sharing decisions, and rules. Okay, this is what Kelsen, in summary, says about democracy. But now it's not like this. Why democracy is in crisis today? Norberto Bobbio, another right philosopher in Italy, talks about 6 lost promises of democracy. And you can see what are these 6 lost promises of democracy in Western societies. Okay, I want to focus on unsuccessful fight against oligarchy, lack of space of representation, and unsuccessful effort to educate citizens, because I will try to give solution about these 3 lost promises of democracy. Okay, Bobbio says that democracy has failed in the fact that now groups are stronger than individuals, and there is a wrong use of representation to defend lobby interest and not collective interest as it should be. Why this is happening? First of all, another philosopher of the 90s says that a lot of decisions are taken in a non-representative bodies, like the one you can see now at the moment. So there is a failure to account participation requests, information requests, and this is a failure on citizens that are more and more aware and more informed, right, because of the effects of democracy itself. So this is Ralph Dahrendorf in this book of 2001, so it's quite in time. Well, let's see what Norberto Bobbio again says about the lack of representative democracy nowadays. I will not read, just not to take time, and we can say Bobbio says it's a deficit of how much system is representative. It's not the fact the system is not representative at all, okay? We have another problem who explains why democracy is in today. The party's crisis. Let's see what another philosopher says about party's crisis, okay? I hope you can see, you are seeing these slides. So another reason for crisis of democracy is the end of competence. Plato was the first one to speak about speak against democracy, right? Because of competence. Plato says with an example that if you want to go to a journey by ship, you will desire an expert captain and not one selected by choice. So he was against democracy. But nowadays there is the opposite argument by populisms. It seems that who has competence or titles to take a decision is seen with suspicion nowadays. If you are a professionist, if you are a director, if you are a manager, you are seen like a system slave or a people enemy sometimes. But actually, democracy is based on competence. For example, in Italian Constitution, some offices can be occupied only with specific titles, as it seems in Article 97. So there is a value in democracy of selecting with competence the officers, okay? And we are losing this principle. So we can say that there's not conflict between democracy and competence, but we have rules to be defined. Politics has to decide always, but politics has to use competence of officers, directors, technicians, and so on, and has to use this competence on a consultative basis and maybe a public basis. So democracy is not against competence, like populisms are saying today. Democracy, it is based on a difficult but beautiful principle, and so if you have to vote, you have to be informed. So if you are voting, you have a duty to document yourself, and this is another problem of democracy today, because we can say that people going to vote are not documenting themselves. They vote by stomach, maybe. Let's see some solutions. I showed problems, but I want to focus on solutions. Okay. One is offered by Jürgen Habermas, building public opinion on the way of a political communication in a proper sense. So building cultural vanguards that can influence people. Another solution is by Norberto Bobbio, education to democracy and citizenship. But Bobbio doesn't say precisely how to make education to democracy. Another solution by Habermas is a return of theoretical thinking And this is just what we are doing now, not in this workshop only, but on these days of Climate Social Forum, for example. Another one is mine, competence tied with transparency, with public rules and with information. So we talk about transparency again. Transparency and competence together can make democracy and can make effective democracy. All of these, according to me, are happening in the life of NGOs and no-profit associations. Let's see statistics. 10–20% of population in every developed country, in every Western society, is a member of NGOs, while 1–2% are members of parties in 2000. This is the situation in Italy, for example, okay? And we can say that associations today are the most direct expression of popular ideas. Every association has a particular specific capacity of share and unify people on a project, on a value, or some values. Party is fading away. Most of all, is fading on the basis, on the capacity of involved people. Let's think for a moment about association in a way maybe in which we don't think about them. Associations have a life in which all professional categories, different party members, different people find common values on collective themes and sovereign individual themes. And these are political themes in a proper sense or in a proper way. Associations now are making political because they talk and discuss about common values, and they build an association, a goal and a method of fighting to realize these common values, these goals. This is what parties have made in the 18th or 19th century. Okay, there are a lot of difference by association today with actual digital parties or political movements, because digital parties, political movements are moved by leaders without sharing, but only with likes, maybe in the social media. Okay, in association, people discuss. This is what Umberto Cerroni says about associations. We can read, and according to me, is a significant transformation of our times. Okay, in associations and in culture, information, science lies a growing part of the active population. So, how can we solve the challenges of today and tomorrow? According to me, giving representative chances to new political subjects like associations. They have to be they have to conquer representative power in parliaments, not only consultative power just like it's today, but real representative, so political power in parliaments, in governments, and so on. Another solution is involvement of citizens toward technological democracy. Yes, but with active participation and ethic ways, just like we are going to make today, or yesterday, or tomorrow in this kind of forum. Okay, this is the way in which we can use technology, but not like digital parties, not only with likes, but discussing, studying together. And we can fight populism with education to citizenship, but even reestablishing ideological differences like right and left. And how to make this? For example, building political schools, but not party schools. I'm talking about political schools, just like something based on volunteers that makes what we are making now, for example. Challenges of tomorrow. One Belgian author, Van Reybrouck, is talking about draw. It seems something like choice or chance, but draw is a possibility in institutional committees made of citizens, just like popular juries, and is something that has experimented in Iceland, if I remember, and in Canada, also in Australia, if I remember. So it's real now. Draw can have some effect if we choose by draw citizens in institutional committees that have to discuss some collective problems like environment, for example. Using unanimity and consultation more than majority. Unanimity can be used in inter-parties or parliamentarian committees with procedural rules to have a unique decision, okay? With unanimity, we can defend minority, the rights of minority. I'm not saying that we have to use unanimity in all political decisions, obviously, but in some specific and collective problems, we can use more unanimity so to protect the rights of minority. Another possibility is the selection of candidates, just like John Brennan is saying in a recent book, okay, selection not of people that is going to vote, but the selection of candidates. For example, having independent authorities elected by citizens or named by public competitions for press or TV committees, for example. Popper talked about something like that. Or having committees for social media. I'm not talking about censoring the freedom of expression, but if the authorities are independent and made of people, maybe by draw, we can have the expression of people on the freedom of expression. Again, transparency. We can have public meetings of political councils with public rules of discussion. For example, we can see by TV the debates on Parliament, but we cannot see the debate in Minister Council. Why? It's possible now with technology, so it's an idea. We should have accountability of decisions. For example, with the deontological codes, with penalties for association of professionals like press or politics. Parties' budgets should be made public. In Italy, at the moment, it is not so. And we can have procedural and shared internal rules for parties, even for digital parties. In Italy, for example, at the moment, it is not so. There are not rules to elect the leader, for example. I'm going to end other ideas to fight sovereignism. First of all, as I said, growing representative power of international bodies, just like this one. Let's see. These are the here of institution of these international bodies. They are at the moment not representative, but we can grow the representative power of these international bodies, as Kelsen said in 1934, and as Kant said in 1795, so a long time ago. I'm saying that, for example, at the moment, UN decides with the Security Council, and Security Council is not a representative body because there are only 6 countries there, and it's something that should be reformed, urgently reformed. Okay, I only want to launch some ideas to you and discuss with you. If you want, this is my bibliography, and if you want to write me for these ideas after this meeting, these are my links. I'm taking a blog. It's called Democrazia Consapevole, Aware Democracy, and this is how you can reach me after this moment. But Domenico, I want to stop myself and take time for discussion. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Francesco. I will kindly ask to make maybe the discussion through the chat and through the question and answer session, because we have the speaker that is going and on the next session that needs to leave before. Maybe at the end of the whole session, if you want to stay, we can engage a brief discussion with all the participants. In the meanwhile, I invite all to question Francesco what you want by the chat and also by the question and answer functionality. To Francesco, so thank you, if there aren't. So Francesco, if you agree.
Domenico, I'm answering on chat. All this time I was just answering on chat, but if there are some questions live, I will be happy.
Okay, sure. So feel free to also to answer some question to Francesco eventually, and also to Martina if there aren't, even though.
Yes, if there are any other question, I can stay just a couple of minutes. Otherwise, I would like to thank you all and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you very much. And yes, notification, you are all invited. Now I will send you an invitation to the closing plenary of the Climate Social Forum. Feel free to join as you want. So it's like an opportunity, not just an attending. So
Domenico,
yeah,
can I say something? There's one question, or maybe one statement of Giancarlo. I think it's quite good to answer here on live session, if you think. Okay, Giancarlo says in chat that there is a lack of competence in parliaments and there is a lack of competence in electorate, but the problem is the power of media, who creates a type of education that goes in an opposite direction to what would be needed. And I think he has a right to say so. Okay, and how to solve this problem? How to solve the problem of the power of media? Media at the moment are free, maybe more or less are free, but they are not going to solve their role of educating people. Maybe they are going to make the opposite effect. So, what solutions to this problem? Okay, I think that solutions are in the social media, because they are not only free media, but everyone can establish a forum or Facebook page or a Twitter page or something like that. Everyone can establish a blog. I was doing just like this some months ago. Everyone can use social media just like instruments of informing other people. Okay, we know that social media can have the opposite effect, because we know that social media are also a place of hate, of fake news and some other things. But we can use social media also to have a free and aware information. Um, for example, all the websites of associations or the Facebook pages of associations contain a lot of free and specific and aware informations and news about the world. So, Giancarlo, I think that um, we can have a people power of media just more than in the 80s or 90s, because in the 80s or 90s there was only TV or radio and something like that, and for having a TV you should have money, okay, but for having a Facebook page and make information to the world, you don't need money. So we have more chances than before. This is my answer to your statement.
Thank you, Giancarlo. Thank you, Francesco. There is Sol that wants to make another question to Francesco.
Thank you. Sorry, I was just opening up my question notes. Sorry, I'm finding exactly the moment I wanted to. Okay, you were talking about civic assemblies, and you're talking now about social media and how what I heard is like a little bit of like we are either we have the power or we don't have the power. That at the moment it's working with or without other people pulling strings. And so civic assemblies and the democratic concept of being able to feel like we have a voice that matters and that makes an impact and taking responsibility for that, like you said about listening and the power of our choices, and really what I'm hearing is learning how to use the power of the democratic system while we have it. Is that more or less what I'm hearing? Okay, and then in terms of human rights, bringing our voices together, even in situations like this, I would love to hear kind of what is your vision for that happening, and if is there anything that's already being initiated that we can get behind. And lastly, I'm I found myself working with a very interesting NGO called the Center for United Nations Constitutional Research. It's quite new, but it's powerful because it's discovering ways that our voices still have a way to make an impact on our human rights. Like, nobody said we have to stop where we were. We can add to it if we feel that this is something that's shifting and changing, and we have the right to open up and revisit our rights. So it just feels as though when you're talking about who we follow and the social media right now being in our face even more with Corona, it's kind of a question of where do I, the viewer, feel empowered walking away from this conversation? Where would you direct me? Yeah, at this point.
Okay, the first question was what is my vision about about people power in the future. Okay, the last question, if you can repeat the last question, because I think I didn't catch it very
More
well.
about is there anything that's already in being taken the initiative that we can stand behind, so I, the viewer, can feel that I have something I can do right now, and stand behind. And you said if the system doesn't allow dialogue, the system has to change. So where can
Okay.
I be an active participant?
Okay, my vision is I will answer to your two questions altogether in one answer. Okay, my vision is we just have, and we have since many years, we just have ability to talk, discuss, and stay together to have voice, because this is not new, okay? We are in democracy, so we have voice to talk, to discuss, and to fight some decisions of governments and so on. Okay, there's no new about that. But I think that groups, forums, associations have to conquer the power to be in parliament directly, not with the mediation of parties, because we just tried the mediation of parties in 90s, and it was failed. Okay, but I have this vision. If some associations like Emergency or like Amnesty International is present in Parliament with his members, okay, they will give to Parliament some political issues to discuss, because the issue of Amnesty International, the values of Emergency or of Greenpeace and so on, are political values. Some days ago, a friend of mine says, but if Amnesty International goes to Parliament, they will transform in politicians. Okay, and my friend was saying this in a negative way. Okay, he was thinking about transforming in politicians. Was thinking about being corrupted and so on. Okay, I answered him. They are politicians. They are more political than politicians today, because the issues of some associations on environment, on human rights, on other arguments are more political than the one of the professional politicians. Okay, and my vision is that this fact is not completely understood by associations themselves. If they understand this, they can go on the electoral round. Okay, they can go. They can be in Parliament. They can be in the electoral tournaments and so on. Okay, this is first my vision, and I think that maybe we are not so prepared today. But the rule of philosophy is not talking about today. The rule of philosophy is to imagine the tomorrow. Okay, it was also just like that. I just showed you that Kant in 1795 was talking about a unique democracy, a unique international democracy of democratic states. 1795, in the middle of Napoleonic War. Okay, so the role of philosophy is to imagine the future. Okay, and if I say so, I know that maybe we are not prepared just in this moment, but I think it's the way, because associations are having now the role of parties in the last centuries, and this is a fact. Okay, so we have to multiply the effort of forums, discussions, and so on, multiply instruments like Facebook pages or forums and so on, but we have to find the courage of being present in the electoral tournaments and so on. Okay, first of all. And the other thing is, the only other thing I would say is why associations are not prepared in this moment nowadays, because there's a lot of volunteers, obviously, but maybe there's not education to democracy inside the associations. In this sense, democracy is complex. um, ideologies are complex, and they need studies. They need to be studied. Okay, if let's see, for example, the actual political movements like Movimento 5 Stelle or like Podemos or others, they are made of volunteers who has ethic ideas, but they don't have education to democracy. They don't have education to the internal democratic rules. Okay, and so they are on the risk of some leadership, some authoritarian leadership. Okay, because they don't know how to have procedural rules for discussion. They don't know how to vote for their leader. They don't think about voting inside themselves to some to choose some actions. The parties of 19th century, they had this culture. They had this education. Okay, so the second other thing I would say is we have to take this culture, this education to democracy to the members of associations to be prepared to go to elections. Okay, because if we don't do the same, the problem is that they can be like the digital parties today, full of good intentions, but not prepared to rules, procedures, and rules of discussion, most of all. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Francesco. I think that we are run out of time, but eventually, if there is just one last comment that someone want to share, let's give the chance. Also, because we are like reprising in almost half an hour, so we have a limited like spare time these times. But as I said, let's do a last intervention if someone want to intervene. Even though let's thanks and congratulate Francesco for his wonderful presence here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Domenico, and thank you to you all, because for me there are only opportunities.
Thank you very much. Okay, if there aren't, let's close the session. Just a final remark that I wanted to say. Once during my studies, I had the opportunity to face out this model of sustainability that was pretty strange, because we are used to see the three spiked sustainability models where there are economical, social, and environmental, and just these three. But this model that I found was, first of all, not like circles that intersecate, but circles that were concentric. And the most wider one was the circle of participation. So participation was a dimension of sustainability. And today I think that we discover how that participation and democracy is properly one of the dimensions of sustainability that sometimes we don't cover too much also in the environmental world, we can say. And so thanks for the speakers for giving us so many inputs on different types of the democracy involvement participation that I think, in my opinion, are part of the solution for the environmental and climate crisis. Societies, communities are not a part of their environment, and also the way on they interact is part of the solution. So thank you very much for this session, to all the speakers, the ones that have lived and the one that was in the first session. And see you at 2:30, so just in a few time. We will have the session, the last session, and maybe most intriguing, that is about mobilization of youth and civil society. And finally, we will have the closing plenary this night at 9:30. I repeat, you, also the speaker, are all invited to the closing plenary, and I will send an email soon. So thank you, Francesco. Thank you to all. Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you,
Thank
Domenico.
you.
Thank you, Sol. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bravissimo.